The Waldorf Astoria isn't just a hotel. It's a symbol of power, wealth, and surprisingly, family drama. This New York City icon was born out of a bitter feud between two of the richest men in America, and their rivalry changed the city forever. For over a century, the Waldorf Astoria has hosted presidents, celebrities, and even royalty. It's where history was made and where luxury was redefined. It gave us Eggs Benedict and red velvet cake, and it was once the tallest hotel in the world. And now, this legendary landmark is getting a massive makeover. So, how did a family feud lead to the creation of one of the most famous hotels in the world? And what's next for this legendary landmark? Let's find out. Before we check into the Waldorf Astoria's legendary past and future, make sure to subscribe to Design Zip for more stories about design, construction and architecture. Let's go back to the late 1800s, a time when the Astor family was one of the richest in America and also one of the pettiest. The Waldorf Astoria exists today because of a good old-fashioned family feud between two cousins. Those two cousins were William Waldorf Astoria and John Jacob Astor IV. And when millionaires fight, they don't just throw insults. In this scenario, they build hotels. In 1893, William Waldorf Astoria decided to one-up his family by tearing down his mansion and replacing it with a grand hotel, the Waldorf. It had 450 luxurious rooms, fine dining, and the kind of elegance that made people gasp just by looking at it. But his cousin, John Jacob Astor IV, was not about to let that go. 4 years later, he built the Astoria. It was an even bigger, fancier hotel right next door. Now, instead of just being impressed, people were talking about this awkward, very public family drama that was happening in the middle of Manhattan. Eventually, the family made up, and then someone had the bright idea to merge the two hotels into one massive structure. And that's when the Waldorf Astoria was born. At the time, it was the largest and most luxurious hotel in the world, with 1,300 rooms spread over 17 floors. When the world was modernizing around it, Waldorf Astoria set the standard for luxury. There were fancy ballrooms, lavish restaurants, and service that made guests feel like royalty. New York City had never seen anything like it. Fortunately, both the Waldorf and the Astoria were designed by Henry J. Hardenberg, the same American architect who designed the Plaza Hotel. This then made the merging somewhat easier. The Waldorf Astoria was a masterpiece of the Gilded Age, which mixed German Renaissance and French Second Empire styles. Basically, it perfectly represented European aristocracy. But this place was more than just about looks. It was ahead of its time. The hotel had electric lights, private bathrooms, and even telephones in rooms. In the 1890s, that was mind-blowing. Most people did not even have indoor plumbing at home, and here was a hotel offering bathtubs with hot water on demand. The grand lobbies and public spaces were covered in marble, gold, and elaborate chandeliers. Everything was bigger, shinier, and richer than anything New York had seen. It was so extravagant that some critics thought it was too much, and this was the exact reason it made people want to stay there even more. Despite its legendary status, the original Waldorf Astoria had one problem. It stood in the way of progress. By the 1920s, Manhattan was changing fast, and real estate in Midtown was becoming more valuable than sentiment. So, in 1929, the hotel was demolished to make way for something even bigger, the Empire State Building. But the Waldorf Astoria name was not going anywhere. In 1931, a new, even grander version opened on Park Avenue. But did it match the iconic status of the original building? Yes, it did. The new Waldorf Astoria became the tallest hotel in the world at the time, standing 625 feet or 191 meters tall. The new hotel had 47 stories with 1,413 rooms, and it covered an entire city block between 49th and 50th Streets. If the old hotel was impressive, this one was on another level. Gone were the heavy European-style decorations of the original. The new Waldorf Astoria was pure Art Deco, designed by Schultz and Weaver, the architects behind other famous hotels like the Pierre and the Breakers in Palm Beach. They envisioned a style with clean lines, geometric shapes, and a sense of modern glamour. The building itself was sleek, elegant, and towering, with a limestone and brick facade that gave it a strong and sophisticated look. But the real magic was inside. Walk into the lobby and you would see polished marble floors, gold and silver accents, and intricate murals that made you stop and stare. The centerpiece was the famous Waldorf Astoria clock, which was a 9-foot tall bronze masterpiece that had once stood in the original hotel. In fact, this clock was a symbol of prestige, as it was a gift from Queen Victoria herself. The new building was constructed in a way to offer a full-blown experience. The hotel had multiple ballrooms, the best of the best restaurants, a theatre, and even its own hospital suite. It also had a secret train platform underneath it. Hidden below the hotel was Track 61, part of Grand Central Terminal. This was no ordinary platform. It was used for discreet VIP arrivals, including President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who did not want anyone seeing him in a wheelchair. Every single detail in this hotel was iconic. The rooms were spacious and elegant, the service was flawless, and the restaurant set the gold standard for dining. The Starlight Roof was the ultimate hotspot, as it was a rooftop venue where the city's elite gathered under a retractable glass ceiling. So why did a place this incredible need a renovation? Well, even icons need a little refresh now and then. The Waldorf Astoria had been standing tall since 1931, and while its history was priceless, some of its features were outdated. Let's be honest, vintage charm is one thing, but old plumbing and aging interiors are another. It was time for something bold, a massive top-to-bottom transformation that would make the hotel even more spectacular while keeping its historic soul intact. The decision was not just based on the idea of updating furniture and adding a fresh coat of paint. By the time it closed for renovations in 2017, the hotel was showing serious wear and tear. The mechanical systems were outdated, some spaces felt stuck in another era, and luxury standards had changed dramatically since its last major update in the 1980s. But there was also a bigger plan happening inside the building. In 2014, the hotel was purchased by Anbang Insurance Group, a Chinese conglomerate, for $1.95 billion, making it the most expensive hotel ever sold. Their goal was to bring the Waldorf Astoria into the future while maintaining everything that made it legendary. Now, let's talk about the biggest change. It is no longer just a hotel. When the Waldorf Astoria finally opens its doors again, it will have 375 luxury hotel rooms, but also something new. The Towers. The Towers is a private residence section with 375 condos. This means you can actually live inside the Waldorf Astoria now instead of just staying for a few days. But don't worry, the hotel is not losing its classic Art Deco beauty. In fact, a huge part of this renovation is about bringing back its 1930s glamour. Those grand chandeliers, intricate murals, and ornate metalwork that made the original hotel so iconic are all being carefully restored by expert craftsmen, down to the smallest detail. Everything that gave the Waldorf its magic is staying, but now with modern infrastructure to bring it into the future. And then, of course, there are the amenities. You can expect exclusive lounges, a luxury spa, retail stores, and world-class dining. And for those who will live in the towers, the perks are next level. There are going to be private pools, libraries, and entertainment spaces designed for the city's elite. All in all, Waldorf Astoria is going to offer an unmatched experience. But transforming a nearly 100-year-old landmark into a modern masterpiece has not been easy. Since the Waldorf Astoria is a designated New York City landmark, there are strict regulations on what could and could not be changed. Every single historic detail, from the decorative ceilings to the antique doorknobs, had to be either restored or replicated perfectly. And then there is the infrastructure. The plumbing, electrical systems, and HVAC were all from a different era, meaning they had to be completely ripped out and replaced. This means they had to update an entire 47-story building without damaging the things that make it special. It was definitely not an easy task. Originally, the plan was to reopen by 2021, but between construction hurdles and global economic shifts, things got pushed back. Now, the grand reopening is set for 2025, and when that day finally comes, it won't just be the return of a hotel, it will be the return of an icon. For over a century, the Waldorf Astoria has been at the heart of New York's luxury scene, from its dramatic origins in a family feud to becoming the world's most prestigious hotel. Now, after a massive renovation, it's preparing for a grand comeback in 2025. Do you think the new Waldorf Astoria will live up to its legendary past? Let me know in the comments. And if you love architecture, design, and construction stories, make sure to subscribe to Design Zip for more fascinating videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.